MADLORE is a series of short audio stories based on the MAD.org history within the Star-Citizen universe. Frozen Stars, Episode 3, Chapter 11. As Jake raced down the catwalk, his voice broke the tumultuous symphony of chaos that surrounded him with a desperate shout.
Connor!
However, the cacophony of alarms and the appearance of more drug runners emerging from the other end of the battered catwalk threatened to drown out his voice. Yet, he clung to a sliver of hope that somehow, amid the turmoil, his comrade might hear his call.
Fuck.
Jake muttered in despair as he sprinted down the catwalk, fueled by a sense of urgency and dread. The relentless rain of bullets from the opposing side of the walk forced him to move quickly for cover. The metallic clang of bullets impacting the catwalk filled the air, creating a terrifying symphony of destruction. Amidst the chaos, Jake's keen eyes caught a glimpse of something on the catwalk. An abandoned medical bag, unmistakably belonging to Alex. The urgency of the firefight pushed him to make a split-second decision, and he reached down to snatch the bag as he sought cover. The sound of gunfire echoed through the chamber, accentuating the intensity of the firefight. Jake dashed down the remaining length of the catwalk, his breath ragged and heart pounding. As he approached the blasted open office door, what awaited inside was a nightmarish tableau of chaos and carnage. The office's walls bore witness to a fusillade of bullets, their surfaces marred by pockmarks and scorching, the aftermath of a ferocious firefight. Shattered furniture lay strewn haphazardly across the room. Shards of glass glistened in the dim emergency lighting, casting eerie and erratic shadows that danced upon the chaos below. Amidst the wreckage and the still buzzing alarms, Jake couldn't help but murmur to himself,
Damn, Alex, you really tore this place apart.
Jake moved further into the office. He carefully stepped over the remnants of shattered furniture, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of his captain. He noticed the lifeless bodies of the drug runners in combat gear, scattered throughout the room. It was apparent that they had met a violent end, and it was clear who had delivered it. As Jake cautiously moved deeper into the ravaged office, he activated his helmet's heads-up display, attempting to establish a connection with his comrades.
Alex, Connor, do you copy?
He transmitted into the silence, the urgency in his voice underscoring the gravity of their situation. However, the only response was the static-laden emptiness of a failed communication attempt. Frowning, Jake checked his equipment, realizing with a sinking feeling that both Alex's and Connor's comms were offline. Undeterred, he continued his search, stepping over the remnants of shattered furniture. The lifeless bodies of the drug runners served as ominous markers of the intense conflict that had unfolded.
There's no way you did all this alone.
Jake muttered to himself, a mixture of awe and concern in his voice as he shook his head. Bullet casings littered the floor, and the pungent smell of gunfire residue hung in the air. The office was in shambles, and blood splatters painted a gruesome picture of the fierce conflict that had unfolded. It was a testament to Captain Alex's combat prowess and his commitment to seeing this to the end. The uncertainty clung to Jake like a shadow. Connor's absence hung heavy, a mystery wrapped in dread. The unknown fate of his comrade was a palpable weight, intensifying the chaos surrounding him. Despite the turmoil, Jake understood the necessity of reuniting with Alex and, perhaps, unraveling the mystery of Connor's disappearance. A glint down the hall drew his attention. A familiar sight, Alex's rifle, waiting to be reclaimed. Snatching up the rifle, Jake pressed forward, hoping to find more clues trailing back to Alex. With a resolute grip on his energy shotgun, he navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the office complex. Chapter 12. Connor plummeted through the darkness, the world spinning around him, and a disorienting sense of weightlessness gripping his senses. As he fell, the wreckage of the blown-out catwalk and fragments of shattered cryotubes surrounded him. The ear-splitting explosion that had torn through the catwalk had sent him hurtling, and the world around him became a chaotic blur. He collided with the remnants of cryotubes, the impact sending shocks of pain through his body. His side, previously wounded in the firefight, was further injured as a piece of the exploded catwalk pierced his flesh. Connor's world was a cacophony of agony and disarray, but in the midst of the chaos, he fought to maintain his grasp on consciousness. In his dazed state, as the darkness of unconsciousness threatened to engulf him, Connor's mind conjured fragmented images, a swirl of memories from missions past, the camaraderie of his squad, and the haunting memory of Mike's sacrifice etched in the fabric of their shared experiences. Echoes of laughter in the mess hall intertwined with the solemnity of loss. But
Connor!
the urgent voice of Jake, calling out for him, pulled him back from the brink of oblivion. With a Herculean effort, Connor clawed his way back to the waking world. His fingers found purchase on the edge of a nearby cryo tube, and he clung to it, his grip tenuous and trembling. Blood oozed from his reopened wound, staining his clothes. Gasping for air and shaking off the dreamlike haze, Connor knew he had to keep moving. Despite the lingering pain, the urgency of finding Jake and Alex propelled him to action. With a painful, grunting effort, he managed to hoist himself up onto the rack that held the cryo tube. Every movement was a battle against the tormenting pain that seared through his side. Connor surveyed his injuries. The catwalk fragment embedded in his side demanded immediate attention. Bracing himself for the impending pain, he reached down and grappled with the jagged metal. Each tug sent searing waves of pain through his body, intensifying as the shard reluctantly gave way. Blood flowed freely from the newly opened wound, and a dizzying wave washed over him. In a desperate attempt to counter the mounting weakness, Connor fumbled for a med pen in his pouch, but his hands, stained in blood, trembling from pain and exhaustion, betrayed him. The med pen slipped from his grasp, clattering to the darkness below, a small but crucial hope dropping away in the chaos. The room seemed to spin as his vision blurred, and his grip on the cryo tube wavered. Struggling to stay conscious, Connor fumbled, and in his weakened state, he lost his balance. As Connor's head collided with the unforgiving rail, the force of the impact reverberated through his combat helmet, creating a spiderweb of fractures. In the split second that followed, he teetered on the edge of consciousness, caught in a disorienting cascade of sensations. The compromised helmet, now bearing the scars of its collision, failed to shield Connor fully. As he tumbled into the frigid coolant pool below, the cracks in the helmet expanded, allowing the icy liquid to infiltrate. The initial shock of the fall was heightened by the creeping numbness that seeped through the compromised headgear, creating a surreal and unsettling experience for Connor as he grappled with fading memories and the chilling embrace of the coolant. The coolant enveloped him, sending an immediate shock through his body. It was as if he'd plunged into an Arctic abyss. The frigid temperature seeped into his wounds, causing his body to convulse in shock. Connor gasped for air, his limbs numbing from the cold. It was a double-edged sword, as the freezing liquid seemed to slow the flow of blood from his injuries, but it threatened to drag him into unconsciousness once more. Connor's mind was a turbulent sea of pain and confusion as he struggled to stay afloat. The ordeal had pushed his body to its limits, and he faced an uncertain future. Amidst his struggle, Connor's bleary eyes strained through the fractured lattice of his combat helmet. His vision was distorted, and the med pen's slow descent to the tank's bottom seemed an agonizing countdown to his fading strength. Summoning his last reserves of energy, he extended a trembling arm, fingertips barely grazing the life-saving tool. In a swift, desperate move, Connor drew his pistol. The shot, magnified by the enclosed space, echoed through the liquid-filled chamber. The glass tank shattered in a burst of violence, setting free a chaotic swirl of liquid coolant. In the chaotic aftermath, Connor crashed to the floor, feeling the shock of the freezing liquid coolant and the explosion reverberating through his battered body. With a sense of urgency, he clutched the med pen tightly. He stabbed it into his thigh, the hiss of the healing solution a welcome sound. The nanobots within the med pen surged into action, hastening the healing process. As the curative agents worked, Connor winced, the stinging pain on his side persisting as the med pen struggled to fully mend his wound. With a brief, grimacing struggle, he pulled his cracked combat helmet off. The relief of survival intertwined with lingering fear, his face reflecting the profound brush with death. Lying there, Connor took breaths that seemed to echo in the cold. The med pen worked its magic, stitching some wounds closed, but the larger gash resisted its healing grasp. The pain, momentarily subdued, lurked beneath the surface. The chill from his wet clothes intensified the discomfort, a persistent reminder. Struggling to maintain his balance, Connor sought support against one of the colossal coolant tubes. As he steadied himself, his gaze fixated on a frozen corpse suspended inside the tank. An eerie tableau frozen in time, a stark reminder of lives arrested in the midst of death. It served as a haunting reflection of the fate he narrowly avoided. Taking a moment to survey his surroundings, Connor was confronted by the haunting sight of the cryotubes. each a vessel holding the suspended animation of lives interrupted. In the distance, several tubes lay shattered on the ground, their occupants spilled out, a grim testament to the violence that had engulfed the once orderly chamber. Above, the distant echoes of gunfire continued, a stark reminder of the chaos that still gripped the upper levels.
Jake's still up there!
Connor muttered to himself, a renewed sense of urgency propelling him forward. Navigating through the lower levels of the cryotubes, Connor's senses were on high alert. The muffled sounds of activity echoed through the dimly lit corridors, a blend of distant conversations and sporadic footsteps. His grip tightened around his sidearm as he pressed forward, determined yet wary of what lay ahead. Rounding a corner, Connor was met with a tense scene, illuminated by the flickering emergency lights. A group of drug runners actively searched the area. Seeking refuge, he quietly slipped behind a few cryotubes, his eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of his pursuers. In the dim glow, a door on the other side of the drug runners caught his attention, faintly labeled Level 1 Lab. The realization that this door could lead to both escape and potentially more medical supplies heightened both his relief and the stakes of the confrontation. With each cautious step, he felt the weight of the impending encounter. The need for silence and caution became paramount in this precarious dance between survival and the unknown. Chapter 13. As Dr. Arnold Siberius sprinted desperately towards the end of the catwalk, his heart pounded. Panic surged through his veins, spurred on by the echoing footsteps of his relentless pursuer, Captain Alex. As Captain Alex sprinted towards Dr. Siberius, urgency etched on his face. He tossed his bag away on the catwalk. The pursuit demanded unencumbered movement. Reacting swiftly, he reached the scientist's side, just as Dr. Siberius fumbled to open the door at the end of the catwalk, panic evident in his movements. An explosion of violent force erupted from the office on the other side of the catwalk. The sheer intensity of the blast reverberated through the catwalk, jolting Dr. Siberius and propelling him involuntarily into the room he was attempting to open.
Fire!
In a decisive motion, Captain Alex tore away the fabric of his left sleeve, unveiling the military-grade cybernetic limb that lay beneath. The arm, a marvel of cutting-edge technology from the forefront of military augmentation, bore the designation Hurston Dynamics. The cybernetic arm was a testament to the fusion of man and machine, a cybernetic masterpiece crafted for the rigors of combat and covert operations. The exoskeletal framework, composed of advanced alloys, melded seamlessly with Alex's musculature, creating a symbiotic union of strength and precision. Embedded within the sleek, dark surface were an array of specialized modules. Microscopic servos whirred softly, providing a fluid range of motion. The hand, equipped with tactile sensors and retractable Durasteel fingertips, could delicately manipulate intricate objects or exert formidable force with equal finesse. A lattice of pulsating gold-like energy veins crisscrossed the limb, indicating the flow of energy to various integrated systems. The cybernetic arm was not merely a replacement for lost flesh and bone. It was an augmentation that elevated Captain Alex to a league of enhanced operatives, a living weapon with capabilities beyond the bounds of natural human limits. Captain Alex swiftly activated a repulsor shield, a modular enhancement seamlessly integrated into his cybernetic arm. Before their eyes, a shimmering barrier of energy materialized, standing as a formidable defense against the imminent threats that sought to engulf them. The sudden appearance of the shield marked a momentary reversal of fortune, a technological bulwark against the chaos that surrounded them. The bullets from the drug runners, instead of hitting their mark, rebounded off the pulsating shield. The resulting sound of metal meeting energy filled the corridor. The assailants, taken aback by this unexpected turn, found themselves in disarray. The redirected bullets forced them to hastily seek cover, their initial advantage now turned against them in the echoing confines of the corridor. The air crackled as bullets rebounded off the shield, their speed doubled, creating a lethal spray that took one of the drug runners by surprise. The unfortunate assailant, unable to dodge the ricocheting bullets, was struck by so many rounds that it seemed as if he exploded into a red mist. His body, or what remained of it, crumpled to the floor. As the remaining drug runners retreated down the corridor, Captain Alex, swift and determined, pursued without hesitation. The corridor became a battleground, punctuated by intermittent gunfire and the clashing of combatants. In the confined space of the corridor, one drug runner found himself cornered between unyielding walls and the relentless advance of Captain Alex. A moment of uncertainty flickered across the runner's face before he lunged forward, initiating a hand-to-hand combat maneuver. Alex met the challenge head-on, responding with a fluid and powerful strike. As this close-quarters confrontation unfolded, the three remaining drug runners, undeterred by the fate of their fallen comrade, regrouped amidst the chaos. Strategically seeking cover, they skillfully positioned themselves to gain a tactical advantage against Captain Alex. As the hand-to-hand duel unfolded, the other three drug runners, strategically positioned behind makeshift barricades, seized the opportunity to take careful aim. With the repulsor shield now deactivated, Captain Alex stood exposed, vulnerable to their coordinated counterattack. Recognizing the imminent danger, Alex pivoted swiftly, incapacitating his hand-to-hand challenger with remarkable speed. In a seamless motion, his cybernetic arm transformed into a shield once more, absorbing the incoming gunfire. The resounding hum of the repulsor shield's deactivation echoed through the corridor. Bursting in a sizzling spray of electricity, the shield crumbled under the relentless barrage, leaving Captain Alex vulnerable. A deadly volley of bullets found their mark, and Alex, once a formidable force, fell to the ground. Seizing what seemed like imminent victory, the drug runners approached their fallen adversary with slow, confident strides. Yet, in the midst of this apparent triumph, an unexpected figure emerged from the corridor. Dr. Siberius swiftly fired at the advancing assailants, catching them off guard. However, the exchange was not without its cost. A well-aimed shot struck Dr. Siberius in the shoulder, forcing him to drop his weapon. Before the drug runners could unleash another round on the defenseless scientist, Alex, seemingly resurrected, and executed a lightning-quick maneuver. With a surge of power, Alex's cybernetic arm emitted a blinding flash, casting an intense light that briefly illuminated the corridor. Simultaneously, an electromagnetic pulse rippled through the surroundings, causing electronic devices and systems to sizzle and explode in sparks. The sudden burst of energy disoriented the drug runners, their senses overwhelmed by the unexpected assault. In the ensuing confusion, Alex capitalized on the moment, his movements a blur as he leaped to his feet with unparalleled agility. In a decisive motion, Alex lunged forward, his cybernetic arm now a lethal instrument. A concealed blade plunged into one of the drug runners, incapacitating him. Simultaneously, Alex drew his sidearm and fired precise shots at the remaining disoriented assailants. The corridor reverberated with the chaotic aftermath of the surge, the fallen drug runners a testament to the unexpected turn of events. Dr. Siberius, nursing his wounded shoulder, observed as Captain Alex, a force to be reckoned with, stood amidst the dissipating haze of the corridor's shadows. Captain Alex, his cybernetic arm now overcharged and crackling with residual energy, stood amidst the diminishing haze of the corridor's shadows. The fallen drug runners were scattered across the floor, their weapons now silent, but victory came at a cost. As the echoes of the battle subsided, Captain Alex's once fluid movements now carried the burden of exhaustion. The remnants of his formidable cybernetic arm hung lifelessly at his side, drained of power and emitting a faint crackle from the residual energy, a testament to the recently discharged EMP burst. The corridor, a witness to the intense struggle, revealed its scars, scorched walls, singed edges, and the lingering acrid scent of burnt electronics that permeated the air. Bullet casings like spent echoes of the firefight littered the cold metallic floor, forming a grim mosaic of the recent clash. Despite his efforts to stand tall, fatigue and the depletion of energy took their toll on Captain Alex. In a moment of vulnerability, he stumbled and fell, his armor-clad form echoing against the cold metal of the corridor floor.